Hi, welcome, Rabbi Allen. Thank you for joining us for a few minutes before Pesach.
With pleasure.
What does the word freedom mean to you in a year of Corona?
Thank you. Well, first of all, freedom on Pesach, in my view, has always meant freedom from certain things and freedom to redemption. So it's freedom from Egyptian slavery, freedom from those persecutions. And today, amidst COVID, it's freedom from the Corona quarantine. It's freedom from fear of a life-threatening disease. But Pesach, classically, is not just freedom from Egyptian persecution. It's also freedom to receive the Torah at Har Sinai. It's freedom to enter into Eretz Yisrael. And so too, in terms of COVID, it's not just freedom from quarantine and the illness, it's also freedom to return to in-person contact with family and friends. It's freedom to return to work in a more normal way, to school, to a healthy routine. And finally, it's freedom to contemplate what is really essential, vital to our lives. And it means an appreciation that our time is limited, so we should use it wisely.
Great, thank you. What have we learned from our ability to adapt our Seder experiences amidst COVID?
We are reminded that the Seder is not just a fixed holiday manual for a dinner program of Jews getting together each year. Rather, it is something, it's not an automatic pilot. It requires adaptation, innovation, seeking eternal relevance. That's why the multi-chrome Haggadah, where it shows how it developed throughout the ages, polychrome Haggadah. So too, under Zoom, we developed. We use technology, for example. So in my kihila, prior to the lighting of candles, first day of Pesach last year, we had a Zoom Seder for shut-ins, for people who are in isolation, people who are quarantined, people who didn't have an invitation to. And we had dozens and dozens of folks who were able to experience the Seder thanks to Zoom. So it was an innovation. It's making it contemporary relevant. There are many new Seder readings that have been authored under the situation of COVID. Many new opportunities for Torah study about Pesach, about the Seder, made accessible on Zoom that were never before available in ways that are so enriching. And also, we have enhanced our utilization of imagination. As Esther Perel, who's a psychologist, wrote recently, she said, I spend my entire time in my kitchen. But now I've learned at certain times to imagine my kitchen as my favorite bistro, rather than this fixed place where I do everything 24/7.
Absolutely. What do the 10 plagues look like in the context of Corona?
Well, in ancient Egypt, the 10 plagues, were the Nile turns to blood, and lice, and boils, and cattle disease, the plague of darkness. But today, amidst COVID, we have to think of the plagues as threats to Kiyum Ha'am, to the existence of the Jewish people in this difficult time. For example, there is the plague of isolation from family members, which reminds us the plague of the breakdown of extended families throughout the world. Families being dispersed, people getting married later, people having children later, people having all kinds of, divorce increasing, marital breakup. The dispersion of the family we are reminded of because it's a plague. We're reminded of because of COVID's challenge to family unity. We're also reminded of the plague of scapegoating because the disease started in China. And President Trump would talk about this as the China virus. You've had a lot of anti-Asian sentiment that has been created all kinds of violence and discrimination and bigotry against Asians. And it reminds us, that plague of bigotry, that anti-Semitism too has been on the upswing. And a form of anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism, has been a source of increasing concern to us. So that's a plague that we should not disregard. We also are reminded seeing children who can't be in school in their normal way to learn. We're reminded of the plague of Jewish illiteracy. How many people come to the Seder who've never been to a Seder? How many people come to the Seder who don't even know what it's about? How many people aren't able to even pronounce Hebrew words, let alone read and understand Hebrew? How many people don't know the history of our people? Plague of illiteracy. And also there's the plague of in quarantine, the plague when Israel has had to close its international airport, the plague of isolating the majority of the Jews today, particularly younger Jews who live in Israel, from diaspora Jewry, making it so difficult to continue the necessity of rescue Aliyah and Aliyah by choice, and having the visits, nifgashim, and spending time in Israel. Cutting that off is a plague, and it's a plague that we have to end as soon as possible.
Wow, very, very interesting plagues. Okay, and lastly, what do each of the 4 boys and girls ask about Corona?
Well, they ask us a variety of things. They ask, for example, for us to explain how being in Corona restrictions has strengthened our longing for being together, for community. The word congregation is not just a random translation of kihila. It's a congregate. What makes it special is being together. We can pray on Zoom. It's nice. It's really nice. But we want to physically be together. Sometimes it's the Kiddush following the service where we get a chance to schmooze and catch up that may even surpass for that week the power of our tefillah experience. We need to have classes, yes, available on Zoom, but in person, it's the mifgashim between the sessions that maybe at times is even more important. It's our youth groups, which have to be in person in order to really be binding. It's feeling supported by one another at times of joy and times of need. So then the children might ask us, what have we learned about the connectedness part of our lives being important? Or they might ask about the hand washing. The hand washing at the Seder, we've generally done because we're an automatic pilot. Under COVID, we've gotten new insight as to why hand washing was so special. Jews washed hands before eating for a variety of reasons, not the least of which, that's how we avoided the Black Plague in 1348, 1349. There is a sustaining facet to hand washing, which we've become sensitized to. They might ask us that, or they might ask us about the importance of empty chairs at our Seder table. Special family members who couldn't be together with us, and it's a chance to reflect on the importance of that missing person from our Seder, from our lives, from our family structure. So the empty chairs give us questions to reflect upon. They might ask us the manner in which the movement of our ancestors from Mitzrayim, Tsar, the narrowness of Egypt, towards Har Sinai and then Eretz Yisrael, illuminated the lives of the Jewish people. And in our day, amidst COVID, they could ask us, how has the movement towards the state of Israel's positive impact upon the world illuminated our battle against COVID? It was people like Tal Zaks, an Israeli who was the inventor of the Moderna vaccine. It was Israel's remarkable capacity to distribute the vaccine to the entire population more rapidly than anybody else that is the pace setter. It's Israeli inventions of new therapeutics when you do, God forbid, have COVID, to make sure it's not life-threatening. And it's Israel's creative deal with Pfizer. In exchange for giving us massive amounts of vaccine, we'll give you the data to help humanity. And finally, they might ask about how our traditions mean more to us than ever. This is a time in isolation where self-esteem as Jews, we as minorities in the diaspora in particular, might feel under peril. And so turning to traditions, they might ask us, how do those traditions that connect us back, hundreds of generations to the point that God came down and we were important enough, God came to our collective rescue. This in the sociological trade we refer to as de-victimization, like Alex Haley's famous book, Roots, where we trace our ancestry all the way back, as he did to Kunta Kinte back in Africa, but we do back to Moses and Aaron and Miriam and our ancestors in Egypt, God's intervention to remind us, come what may, whether we're majorities or minorities, that our traditions, our heritage, is what gives us something even more powerful than herd immunity from COVID, and that is the sense of self-worth, self-esteem, and connection to God and our heritage.
Wow, thank you. Those are very relatable and important questions. And thank you, Rabbi Allen, for your continued guidance, leadership, and support for MERCAZ Olami and Masorti Olami. And we wish you and your family a Chag Sameach.
Thank you. Same to you and to everyone. It's a great honor to serve. And I was talking to Chila prior to this filming. We are blessed with a wonderful team of professionals and lay leaders in MERCAZ Olami who are looking forward to taking us, based on our strategic plan that we've just completed, to even higher levels in the years ahead. Chag Kasher v'Sameach.